Hi, this is Kerry with Multicopter Warehouse and the DJI Colorado store in Lone Tree, Colorado. And with the release of the Osmo Action, we've been getting a lot of people asking, which one should I get? There's a lot of similar features and a lot of crossover, but is there one that's just right for everybody? And that's really a good question. So I want to take a moment and do some comparison and talk about why you might want one versus the other. Now, when it comes to image quality, they're going to be the same. You got the same size sensor, a 1/2 inch sensor, 12 megapixel stills. The video is 4K. There's not a huge difference in the actual specs of the camera. I mean, it's the camera, basically say it's the same camera. It's just mounted differently. On the Osmo Pocket, we have it on a 3-axis gimbal. And this is very handy for being able to do pans and tilt shots and take out more of that real wobbly type of, camera movement. The Osmo Action has 2-axis image stabilization electronically. So the difference there is you're not using any processing inside the camera or any software to stabilize the image. It's all done mechanically. With the Osmo Action, it's electronic image stabilization. So it actually needs to crop the frame a little bit in order to have room to be able to stabilize the footage. So in that respect, the footage isn't going to be exact. You're going to be a little cropped if you're using Rocksteady on here. Now, when it just comes to standard, kind of shaky stuff, they're going to perform very similarly. But if you're walking and you're doing things that might end up giving you more of a tilt or a roll, the Osmo Pocket is going to do great. On things that are pretty well locked down, but you get kind of camera shake, things like putting it on a bike or a car, just even hand holding, trying to film yourself in some cases, but it's really the little micro jitters that the Osmo Action is very, very good at smoothing out and giving you more stable footage. So the stabilization is different. They both work well, or they both work really well, I should say, but they are different. Now, I'll talk about some of the other kind of key features. The Osmo Action has the front-facing screen, making it easy to kind of frame your shot, and especially if you're doing vlogging, you can look right at the camera. Well, the Osmo Pocket can do the same thing. I mean, we can just flip the camera around and see ourselves on the screen. So no real big advantage on either one when it comes to vlogging. But when you need to put it up somewhere or mount it in a strange place, the front-facing camera on the Osmo Action can be really handy, but you can manipulate the Osmo Pocket to do pretty much the same thing, or you can use the Mimo app on either one and control the camera remotely. Now, one of the things that I really like about the Osmo Pocket is the control wheel. And using the control wheel, I can get very, very smooth pans and tilts, even when it's on a tripod or just even handheld or leaning it up against something. If I want to get a nice kind of panoramic, I can switch the mode on the control wheel and just barely move it and get a very slow pan type of scene. Trying to do that with the Osmo Action is kind of tough. You're trying to move it steady. You're going to have up and down movement. Your speed is not going to be as consistent. So while you can probably get really good shots like that, same with doing tilts and things, it's not going to be as smooth and as consistent as you can be with the Osmo Pocket. So for that reason, I really love the control wheel. I think that gives it a big advantage. Now let's go back to an advantage on the Osmo Action. It's waterproof. Enough said right there. You're not taking this guy underwater. You're not putting it in really dusty conditions. It's not a ruggedized camera. It's good for doing smooth cinematic shots. The Osmo Action is for rough and tumble, getting it wet, getting it dirty, getting it muddy, hosing it off. Fantastic for those types of things. Let's talk about mounting options. With the Osmo Action, it comes with the frame kit, and any accessory that you want to put on there is GoPro compatible. So you can buy the GoPro chest mount, handles, you name it, tripod mounts, whatever you want that's GoPro compatible, and it's going to attach to the mount on the frame. So that opens up a huge range of mounting possibilities with the Osmo Action. With the Osmo Pocket, there really isn't a lot you can do. And there's not a lot of good options from DJI in terms of ways to mount this. It was really thought of as being a handheld device, or with the Wi-Fi module, it can sit on something well. So for that, I use the Taipan XO cage. And this is just like a cage you'd put on a DSLR. It goes completely on there, and it has all kinds of 1/4-20 and 3/8 mounts on here to be able to mount it on anything. So of course that's a big extra expense. It's about 40 bucks, but it does give me a lot of options versus the Action. Pretty much anything that has that same GoPro 2-pin or 2-tab mount is going to work really, really well on here. Now let's talk about time lapses on the two. Yes, the Osmo Action can do fantastic time lapses. There's no doubt. I've done some really cool time lapses with it. But that's it. I mean, you got to put it somewhere, or put it on a slider, or do something with it if you want any movement. With the Osmo Pocket, you have motion time lapses. So you can set a start point, a midpoint, an end point, and during that time lapse, have the camera automatically move. Having that movement in the time lapse, I think, really separates the level of quality of the time lapse from the Osmo Pocket, from the Osmo Action. Like I said, I've done some great, fantastic looking time lapses with the Osmo Action, but what you can do with the Osmo Pocket, I think, is a huge difference. Now, price-wise, they're both the same. They're both $349. So that's not really an issue. It really comes down to which one is best suited for you. Now, when it comes to, let's go back to ruggedness a little bit. The screen on here is kind of flush out to the end, and you can get ND filters that are just magnetic mount on here. But if you scratch this screen up, you're sending it in for repair. And hopefully you have the DJI Care refresh program on here. The mobile shield is what it's called. And you can get 2 replacements for a very inexpensive amount of money. I think it's like $29 and $39 for a replacement on this guy. That's well worth it, but you are going to be down if you scratch up that screen. With the Osmo Action, this lens cover is removable. So if you get this thing scratched up, it's just an unscrew replacement. ND filters, the ones from Polar Pro, have a base that screw on and then their magnetic mount on there. So if you ding one of those up, it's a very simple replacement as well. You just pop it off the magnetic mount and replace it. So in this case, I'm going to call advantage to the Osmo Action because these replacement lens covers are only $19. So as soon as we get some in stock, I plan to have an extra one in my bag in case I really ding this thing up in the field and I need to start shooting again, and I don't want to leave that lens underneath completely exposed. So I always want to have some kind of cover on it to protect that. So in that case, I think I'm going to give an advantage to the Osmo Action. But overall, since the image quality is the same, it really comes down to what is your use case. If you're going to be putting it in situations where it might get wet, where it might be really dusty, where you don't need that smooth cinematic type of look with the pans and the tilts, the Osmo Action may end up being a better choice for you. If you want something that you can pull out very quickly and be able to get those really nice shots, this nice pans, the tilts, being able to do that in 2-axis with the virtual joystick in the Mimo app, or being able to do motion time lapses that move, then the Osmo Pocket is going to be a better choice. So again, there's no clear winner in which one is best. It really comes down to how are you going to use it and which one is best for you. I hope this answers some of your questions on which one to choose between the Osmo Pocket and the Osmo Action. This has been Kerry with Multicopter Warehouse and the DJI Colorado store. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.